Yeah, hello, what's up, everybody? Hello to all me fans. Please like again, as usual. I have to say that, but so we don't forget, because there's a lot of haters out there trying to take the channel down. You know? Anyway, this is a boxing channel. Everybody knows it's a boxing channel, so we talk here about boxing. Yeah, but I've been on my YouTube all the time pops up Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy. Both of them are serial killers, right? And I was just watching it. So you can't avoid these two seemingly, on YouTube or on mainstream media, on Netflix, any kind of thing like that. Um, Now, some people say that these killers are often part of the program. They mean program to kill, to test stuff out. This is a boxing channel, so we're not going to get into that right now. What we're going to talk about, is who would win in a fight. Who would win in a boxing match or a street fight? Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer? So here's it should be what he's got to say about this, right? So Ted Bundy, killed an awful lot of people. Some people say up to 100. He admitted to less, but some people say up to 100. He was a pervert. He used to go in college women's dorms, attack them, batter them, this kind of stuff. Do heinous stuff to their bodies. Jeffrey Dahmer is from Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Now he is also, he didn't kill as many bodies as I think 17 was his body count. So you could say, well, Jeffrey's less experienced than Ted Bundy. Okay, so that gives Ted a big advantage in a fight. But you got to weigh up other factors here. Okay, so Ted Bundy, he was of quite slight build. So Ted Bundy, he's 5'10", 5'10", Ted Bundy, and he got down to 140 pounds, which is welterweight. Most people would say his natural weight was 160 pounds, but he dropped to 140, so he could escape through, wind shafts, like what do you call it, like ventilation shafts, and escaped prison. So he dropped to 140. So he could make welterweight. So Ted Bundy could make welterweight, and in these days in boxing where they're very good at weight management, they make sure they drop a lot of weight before they weigh in, and then they come in weighing way higher. So Ted Bundy could make welterweight, but he'd probably walk in at about 150, maybe 155 pounds. Okay. And then you got Jeffrey Dahmer in the other corner. Now Jeffrey was a bit taller. Now Jeff Dahmer was 6 foot, so he's got a couple of inches on Bundy. I don't know no one measured their reach, so we're not sure what the reach advantage was. Bundy seemed to have longer arms, so to me the reach was fairly similar. But Jeff was 6 foot, and his weight was about 180 pounds, and he was lean. He was lean. So he's essentially a cruiserweight. He could have probably he would have obviously made like heavyweight. Maybe he could have got down to super middleweight even, for the weigh-in. But that puts him a fair few weight divisions above Ted Bundy. Okay, so that's the number one advantage Jeffrey's got. I would say he weighs a good 25 pounds heavier than Ted Bundy in their primes. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, you got to look at, the physique-wise. Ted Bundy's physique was a bit weak-looking. He didn't look that strong. Whereas Jeffrey, was quite solid for the weight. He was a solid guy. He had a Jake Paul-style physique. Solid. Could lose a bit of mass for the weigh-in, but basically pretty good at the weight. Yeah. And thinking about Ted Bundy's murders were all against women, who weighed like 110 pounds, or, who were like Sonny Edwards' kind of weight. A similar weight to Sonny Edwards. And it's very easy to overpower a woman and batter her, which is what Ted did, apparently about 100 times, right? But Jeffrey had more guts. You know, he had more stamina, he had more strength, he had more power. He only murderized men, including a lot of, what do they call it, African American men. And generally people think African American men are quite athletic and strong in boxing. But Jeffrey managed to overpower them and batter them. So at this point, you've got to think, Jeffrey has got the weight advantage, he's the size advantage, the strength. And he obviously had to have a lot more fight in him, you know, a lot more heart in him, because he was battering grown men, African American men, where it was Ted Bundy could only beat up like, you know, flyweights, girls the size of Sonny Edwards. So at this point, it looks very one-sided. It looks very, very one-sided. Jeffrey Dahmer by KO, probably early. You know, Jeff might. The thing is with Jeff, right? You know, he is an intelligent fighter. He would take time to scope out the other guy. You know, in all his murders, he would take time. He wouldn't lose his mind and batter them. He would plan meticulously his murders. You know, he would plan, and so did Ted Bundy, by the way. But Jeffrey, you know, would not just jump on them. He'd make friends with them. Yeah. He'd outbox them, he'd take them home, and then batter them to death. Whereas Ted would plan, but he generally would plan the location, and then he'd just attack females, flyweights, like Sonny Edwards. So I would think that Jeffrey would take a couple of rounds to work out Ted. You know, he would jab him, keep him off with his strength, probably clinch a bit, you know, let Ted Bundy know that Jeffrey had a strength advantage, move him around a bit, like Tyson Fury does when Tyson Fury fights, you know. He tends to work them out a bit in the early rounds and use his strength to lean on them, to wear them out. And I believe that's what Jeffrey would do. Jeffrey Dahmer would work out Ted, you know. And Ted would be a bit more, because Ted would lose his mind a bit when he went to the killing spree. So he would probably from round one go a bit nuts and desperately flail away and try and knock out Jeffrey. But Jeffrey is too intelligent for that. He stick the jab out, clinch, move Ted Bundy around the ring. Yeah, and you know, I think eventually though he would start. You know, like all good fighters, he would start to up the pace. Start to use his power, start to land on Bundy. Because Bundy would have probably be exhausted after a couple of rounds because he'd be flailing away. Because Bundy was a frenetic attacker. And this would not work with Jeffrey Dahmer. And Jeffrey would you know, just stick the jab out, boom, boom, for a couple of rounds, wear him out. By round 3, 4, 5, Ted was exhausted, get sloppy. And then Jeffrey would realize it's time to move in for the kill. He would start landing big shots. Jeffrey's a powerful guy, you know. He stopped 17 men, all by knockout, okay? And you know, the power would get to Bundy. And Bundy's manipulative. He starts to complain to the ref and the judges and you know, look out the ring and go, oh, Jeffrey's doing illegal stuff. Oh, he but none of that would matter. All that complaining wouldn't matter because Jeff would just know. This guy is ready for the taking. And Dahmer would start to land his big shots. And I believe he would stop Ted Bundy in the 5th round. And it would be a knockout, right? He would put him over a couple of times. I mean, Bundy still had a bit of heart, man. He had some pride. He'd get up, but he'd know he was done. But eventually, Dahmer's punches would be too strong. Bundy would go over, probably flat on his back. And the referee would lift Jeffrey Dahmer's arm and he'd be the victor. Jeffrey Dahmer, KO 5, Ted Bundy.